the Matriarchs, where we pull up a chair for honest conversations that help mothers and daughters build stronger relationships and prepare teens and young women for life. If you've ever found yourself thinking, she was so sweet, what happened? Or you've wondered why your daughter can be so kind and respectful to everyone else, only to come home and unload all of her emotions on you, this episode is for you.
Yeah, you're not imagining it. I feel like at first when I first started going through it, I was like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with my kid? But then as I started talking to more and more moms, they're like, yeah, that's how mine has been too, and starting to learn that it's normal. But
yeah, it's normal.
Many girls become emotional and reactive and very critical at times of their mothers as they get older. And I feel like it's starting to happen younger and younger. Yeah. Like my 7-year-old has even started becoming critical of everything I do.
Yeah. So when Allie compliments me, I'm like, hot dang, it's going to be a good day, because that is so rare. It's usually like, Mom, why are you wearing that? Why does your hair look like that? You know, and on and on and on. And so, yeah, it's a real good day when she drops a compliment.
Emma can even be like kind of critical of my like looks and stuff like that. And the other day we were watching a movie and she was like, Mom, she kind of looks like you. She's really pretty. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll take that. Because she doesn't normally, like, she can be kind of hurtful at times. I'm like, Emma, like, the things you say can hurt my feelings, too. I'm not just a brick wall.
Yeah, it's, you know, I did the same thing. I started talking to other moms, and, you know, they all basically said the same thing. Even girls that, like, when I coached basketball, that were, like, the absolute sweetest girls. And their parents would tell me, like, oh, if you only knew her at home. And I'm like, there's no way. And they're like, yeah, you have no idea. So it is a lot more normal. In fact, you know, it's actually pretty healthy to go through that, because it, and we'll get into it more later, but it basically signifies that, you know, you're like your daughter's safe space and the one that she trusts the most. And because of that, she's willing to, you know, I guess just reveal more of herself and like feel comfortable being more emotional and saying things that she wouldn't say to other people. So
yeah, and as they go through like the hormonal changes and stuff like that, which I think happens so much, not I think, I know it's science based, but it starts so much earlier before they actually start their period. Like there, you can kind of see the emotions and the, you know, the hormone changes before their years before their period even actually starts, I feel like.
Well, and I think there's also like, I don't know, this is an opinion, but I think that there's got to be some correlation too between like how much more stress our kids carry than what we carried at their age, combined with, you know, the fact that they're more comfortable with us and they trust us and feel safe. So there's a fine balance between giving them that space, but also making sure they're respectful and, you know, which we'll get into more later.
Yeah, I agree. I think stress plays a huge role in it. We were actually talking about that the other day, like when it comes to sports, how, you know, when we were younger, comp wasn't really a thing. So both of them, well, Emma mostly just plays comp softball, and then Ella just does rec, but the difference is huge. And then the pressures of that can be, it's crazy. We never went, I don't think we ever went through, or I didn't, you know, the amount of pressure that they are under with sports and school stuff.
In fact, I think there should be a whole episode in the future on competitive sports. And I mean, we can do it from the perspective of like the mental health side of it on the child or the athlete. And then also like what to look for as a parent and what to not allow from coaches. And, you know, anyway, that could be a whole other episode.
Oh my God. Yeah, we could go on a huge rabbit hole with that one for sure.
But, like as we mentioned, moms are the targets. Or in some situations, if it's, that sometimes it's the father. Most of the time it's the mother. We just tend to be the target because, she truly feels the safest with you. And so that's a huge compliment. And I just have to remind myself. And, the more teenagers that you parent, the more you understand and start to kind of show that grace but also making sure you keep those boundaries. But, because it doesn't make those hurtful words okay, but it does help, kind of explain it. And as mothers, like understand, or parents in general, to understand, why they're doing it. And I think that just gives you a better frame of mind on how to approach, whether it's a discipline or a consequence that needs to be initiated, or making sure, they maintain those boundaries and respect. And so, but I mean, think about it, like as adults, right? Many of us like smile through stressful work days and come home and then, release everything that we've been carrying all day. And that's basically what the teenagers are doing to us. So we're just that safe, emotional place.
Yes, it totally makes sense too, because I'm the same way even today. Like if I'm really super stressed about something, or about something someone did or something, I'm not going to feel, sorry, there's like a hair that is like in my eye and I can't get it out. But even as an adult, like when I'm upset with someone or having a bad day or something like that, then I sometimes take it out on Matt, my husband, or I feel more comfortable like telling him things, or, reacting in a certain way with him, because he, I'm with him all the time. He is in like my safe space. And so it's just like that with our girls. Not that makes it okay. But
no, but I mean,
it is so normal. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In most cases, and I know some people that don't feel this way about their spouse, but in most cases, your spouse is like your best friend, right? So you're going to tell them more, share with them more, and bounce things off of them. And the teenagers do the same thing. They just don't, like, their frontal lobe isn't fully formed until they're in their 20s. And so that rational side of their brain, where they're like, instead of articulating it better or talking through it, the hormones, as you mentioned, and the fact that their brain's not fully developed, they don't know how to express that the way that we would like for them to. And, but that's just a part of it. And it's also important too, to understand the medical, like science side of it. It's like, they are not rational human beings. I mean, I've met very few teenagers that are rational, and that's just part of development. So I think it's just important as moms to understand and know that, like, we are their safe places. And like I said, for some, it's the father, but just to understand it and not take it personal and not be defensive and not, snap back, which it's easier said than done, especially when they come off as disrespectful or, I always tell like my youngest, if she's being kind of sassy, which she may have a tendency of doing, maybe, I'll tell her like, okay, honey, I'm going to show you some grace right now, even though there should probably be a consequence to the way you've been talking to me. I'm going to show you grace, because God shows us so much grace, but you do it again. And, basically here's your warning. Here's a little grace, but don't keep it up, because then you're gonna, lose your phone or, have some form of a consequence. But I think it's important for them to understand when we are showing them grace, so that they don't think that they can just walk all over us, because kids have a tendency of doing that too.
Yes, they do. And sometimes they test the boundaries and see like how we're going to react. And so I think that sometimes can be hard, but I think if I honestly don't remember, I don't remember a lot of my teen years. Like, one of our talking points is think back to when you were a teenager. And I'm like looking back to or like, I'm trying to think back to that. And I feel like, I don't know if I just like blocked out a lot of those years or what happened, but I don't remember a lot of it or how I remember getting to arguments with my mom and stuff like that. But
I think they're definitely testing your boundaries. When Grace was like 2, 3, I read the book, The Strong-Willed Child by Dr. Dobson. And it talked about how like you can put a child in a hallway with all these doors and you can tell them every door is locked. So there's no point even like trying it. They're all locked. They're going to still go test every door to make sure it's locked, which is this, like, that's their way of feeling safe. And so, one thing that he mentioned in that book was why consequences and having rules and boundaries for your kids is so important, because for them, it signifies security, right? And it's the same with this. Like, our teenagers are going to test those doors. They're going to test the boundaries. But part of it's just because they are, and because they're teenagers. And some of that is because they're testing the security of that relationship with their parent. And as much as they don't like the consequences, deep down, they they may not like it in a moment, but when it's all said and done, it's good for them. And they, as teenagers, we would never admit like that we liked having consequences, but we all need them, and especially teenagers. So, but again, you got to choose your battles, right? I mean, Allie and I were watching a couple years ago the movie War with Grandpa, and it was a couple years ago, so I don't remember. I'm just paraphrasing, but I believe I initially was thinking it was the grandpa that said this, but I'm pretty sure it's the mom that basically was like showing her daughter some grace, and her dad was like, why are you letting her, talk to you that way? Or why are you letting her treat you, whatever the situation was. And she just said, I'm choosing in this moment to basically strengthen that relationship. And then she mentioned how like she felt like she lost a couple years with her dad because he was so hard on her during those years, and felt like there was no movement, there should be no movement of like the consequences or grace. And she was like, we didn't have a relationship for like 2 years because of that. And I don't want to have that same situation with my daughter. And so I think it is important. I don't know, with teenagers, I think it's so important to not like push them so much all the time and nag them and, have a consequence for every single action, because then they're just going to pull away from you. It's just a balance. Being a parent is, and there is no rule book. There's no, you make mistakes, you learn from those mistakes, and then, you talk about them on a podcast,
Yeah. Yeah. And, what mistakes should I have a consequence for, and what should I not? And we definitely learned from that for sure. I'm like, it's hard.
Okay.
Being a parent is hard.
It is hard.
Especially when you love them so dang much and you always feel like you're failing them.
Oh, I know. I think it's just, I think it's just like humility, right? You get humbled so much as a parent. And, now that I have my last one, she's, as you know, Meg, she's almost 16, but you feel like I understand things so much better with her than even Grace, who's 6 years older. I feel like I'm doing things so much different. Now they're extremely different personalities. So I parented them very different, but the things that I may have done with Grace that I can see now wasn't like, great or healthy, or, I've changed that with Allie. So that's the beauty of, we grow and learn and become wiser. But just remember, moms, that, you are the safest emotional landing place for your teenage daughters. So
teens, if you're listening, please remember your mom isn't your enemy. She's learning this version of you just as much as you are. she, like you, is learning who you're becoming. She's learning how to parent in this new season. And neither of us get a practice around this is what we get what we get, and we don't get to go back and change things, but we can for sure try again to get it right. So we need to make sure that we give each other grace. All right, ladies, that's a wrap on today's episode. So remember, one of the greatest gifts a mother can offer isn't perfection, it's consistency. Your calm becomes your daughter's anchor. So if the season feels hard, take heart. The tension you're experiencing today may simply be evidence that your daughter's growing. Every girl deserves a village, and every mom deserves one too. So we'll save you a seat at our table. Until next time.